In this video, I'm going to show you how you can make a profile picture upload feature using React, NodeJS, MongoDB and Amazon S3. As you can see, this is my current profile picture and here I have a little camera icon. So when I click on this icon, I get three options: view, change and remove. So remove will basically remove the profile picture and change will allow me to upload a new profile picture. So now we can just click on choose, select an image. Let me crop this image a bit and just click on upload. This will upload my cropped image to an Amazon S3 bucket and then it will display my image here as a profile picture. So this cropper component that you are seeing is what we built on our very last video. So in my last video I showed you how you can make this cropper component. So this is the project that we built and here it's basically the same thing, just instead of uploading we just had the download button. So now we're just going to add a couple of more features to this cropper component, like the clear, the upload and this little cancel icon over here, right? So in case if you haven't watched my previous video, do not worry, I will provide you the starter files. The link will be in the description. So basically we're going to convert this project into this. So yeah, let's get started. So as I said, the GitHub link for the starter files will be in the description, so please make sure to download it. So the code that you're seeing is what we have written on our last video. So in case you haven't watched that, I would recommend you do watch it, because I'm not going to go through all these codes again because it's going to take too much of time. Since I have already made a dedicated video on it, you can watch that. So now I'm just going to add two more buttons. The first one will be the clear button and the second one will be the upload button. Okay, so we have got our buttons. So let's again add these two attributes or these two props. So yes, now we have 4 buttons, but there is no gap between each of these buttons, right? Only there's a gap between choose and download. So in order to do this, we can just copy this piece of code here and here, and now we have gaps between all these buttons. Now let's implement the clear feature. So basically when I select an image, and suppose if I click on this clear button, it should remove my image, right? So in order to do this, we just have to write a function which gets triggered whenever we click on the clear button. So we're basically saying that whenever we click on this clear button, we will set our image state to null. So we are setting our image state to null whenever we click on the clear button. So let's test the functionality. So I've selected this image and when I click on clear, yes, it removes my image. So our clear feature is done. Now I'm going to divide our whole project into 4 separate components. So if we see our final project, we have 4 components which are working together. So the first one is this, or you can say the first one is this avatar component. The second one will be this cropper component, and the third one is this snack bar, or you can say this message bar that comes whenever we have any warning or any successful message. So the snack bar is our third component, and the fourth component will be our spinner, or you can say when this loading bar, as you can see. So this is our snack bar, the loading bar, the avatar component and the cropper component. So we will have 4 different components, right? But here we have only one component, which is the cropper itself. So now let's divide our project into 4 different components. First, I will create a folder called components, and inside of this folder I will add 4 more folders. This is our avatar component. The second one will be backdrop. The third one will be cropper, and the fourth one will be snack bar. Now I'm going to take all these codes inside of the cropper component. I'm going to create a file called cropper, and inside of this file I will just paste the code that I just copied. I'm going to name it as render cropper, and here I'm going to paste the copied code. Okay, so now let's take these imports too and paste it here. And now let's try to import the cropper component. Not this. Yes, can't resolve utils. Okay, I'm assuming the location of this file is wrong, so it will be this and this. So now it should work. Yes, so we are getting our cropper, right? So we just moved our code that was first written inside of this app component into its own component called cropper. So now I'm going to create another component, which is the avatar. And name it as render avatar. I am also going to create separate CSS files for each of these components. So let's just create one for the cropper component. I will name it as cropper.css, and let's just import the CSS file inside of this cropper component. And now I am just gonna copy all these CSS codes which I've written inside of this app.css file into the cropper.css file, right? So our project is still working as intended. Let's create one CSS file for avatar component also. Now I'm just gonna write some HTML code and also some CSS. Let's just import the CSS file, and now we just have to pass the render avatar component onto our app component. So now we should have our avatar component. Yes, we are having this avatar component. Now we just have to add this camera icon on this component. So in order to do that, I just have to go to material UI, because I'm just going to use some pre-built components which makes the development process very easy. Rather than creating our own component from scratch, I prefer using pre-built components, because then we can focus mainly on our features, on our business logic. The component that I'm looking for is menu, and here we have many different menus, and the one that I need is this toggle menu grow. If I click on this button, I will get the source code for these two menus, but the one that I'm interested in is only this menu. So if I scroll down, I should get the source code for that particular menu, and the code is this, right? These lines of code is for this menu, and these lines of code is for the second menu which I need. So I'm just going to copy this code and I'm going to paste it here inside of the avatar component. Now I should get an error because we will need many different things which I have not yet imported. So now again, let's go to material UI and let's import these things. So I'm just gonna paste it here, and also the styles. And I think we should be good to go. Yes, the error is gone. Now let's check how our component is looking. So we have a button and the menu. Now let's just change the position of the button and place it here so that it looks exactly like this, right? So, and also we need the camera icon. instead of this toggle menu grow text. So for this we just have to go again to material UI. Now I will search material icons. So we have many different icons which material UI provides, and the one that I need is a camera icon. So when I like search camera, I get many different options. The one that I will choose is this camera alt. You can choose any camera icon up to your liking. So now let's just go to our file and paste here. So I'm getting an error because we have to install the material UI icons package, which I did not do. So let's just install that. The name of the package is at material UI icons. So the package has been installed. Now let's just refresh our file and we are good to go. We do not have any error. So now instead of this toggle menu grow text, I will just display the camera icon. So we have our camera icon and also the menu. But here, as you can see, the button is of rectangle size, but we need a circle button, right? So what we can do is, instead of button, we can just do icon button. So this will give us a nice looking circular button. So as you can see, now we have a circular button instead of that rectangular button. So now let's just change the position of this button and place it here. I'm going to create an object called camera icon and pass this object as the class name inside of the icon button component. Styling material UI components is a bit different. I'm not going to go much deeper into how all these things work. The thing that you should remember, at least for this video, is that when we call the useStyles function, it returns us an object of different class names. So this classes is an object of class names, and when we like access the property camera icon on this classes object, we get all our CSS which we have written inside this camera icon property. I'm going to give a height of 4rem, width of 4rem, position absolute, and we want the button to be at the right bottom. So bottom will be 0 and right will be, let's say, 100 pixels. So we have our icon at the desired position. I'm also going to add a background color of white. As you can see, whenever we hover over our icon, it becomes transparent. So to fix this, I can just add a hover attribute, hover property, and inside of this I will write background color equals to white. So whenever we hover, it still remains as white. Also, our icon is a bit small. So in order to fix this, I will just add a prop called font size and I will pass large as the value. So it will make our icon a bit large. So now let's just change these names. So the first one will be view, the second one will be change, and the third one will be remove. So now when I click on change, it should display my cropper component. So I will just write render cropper here, and it should auto import my render cropper component. Also, we have to add a React fragment. So now we have our avatar component as well as our cropper component, but I want this component to appear only when I click on change. So to do that, I will just create a state. Let's create it here. I will call the state as show cropper and set show cropper. So whenever the show cropper is a truthy value, it will display our render cropper component. So now we just have to change our show cropper state to a truthy value. So to do that, I will just write here a function. So I will write the function at the top of the handle close statement. So I'm basically gonna set the state of show cropper to true when we click on this change button. So it should display our cropper now. So as you can see, okay, so I have to pass an event to the handle close function. So yes, whenever we click on this change button, our cropper appears. So I want this background to be a bit transparent to know that the avatar and the cropper are two separate components. So I can just go to our cropper.css file and give a background color of black, which will be a bit transparent. So now we have a background color which is a bit transparent, but we are having the avatar and the cropper component at the same level. So I think I have to give here position relative so that our avatar component goes behind the cropper component. So yes, now the cropper component is at the top of the avatar component. Let's just give a background color to this footer. It will be container buttons background color of white. So yes, now we have our cropper component and also the avatar component at different levels. So now I just will add a cancel icon so that we can close this cropper component whenever we want to close it. Let's go to the cropper.jsx file and we have to put the cancel icon here. So again, I'm going to use icon button, and inside of this icon button I'm going to use an icon called cancel icon. So cancel icon is not defined. So if I go to material UI and search for the cancel icon, I think this is the icon that I need. So it will be this. Actually, I remember the name of the icon, so I directly just wrote the name of the component, but I guess it is not auto importing it, so I will just add the icon over here. And yes, we're having the icon here, right? Now I will just change the position of this icon and place it here. Styling material UI components is a bit different. We have to use a function called make styles that material UI provides, and this function basically returns an object of class names, which we will then assign it to a variable, let's say useStyles. And here we have to write all our class names. So the first class name will be icon button, the second one will be cancel icon. You can name this by any name you want. It's not specific that you have to name it as icon button or cancel icon. And we will then call our useStyles function over here to extract the classes. Actually, this is a hook, so it can only be called inside a React functional component, right? So now we will assign the icon button class name over here by just doing classes dot icon button, and similarly we will use cancel icon class name for the cancel icon component. Now I'm going to give a position of absolute, a top of let's say 20 pixels, right of also 20 pixels. Now let's style our cancel icon. So I will give a color of hash 00 A3C8, a font size of 50 pixels, and hover red. So whenever we hover over our cancel icon, it should turn into red, so that it indicates that we are canceling our cropper component. So now let's check our cancel icon. So yes, we are having our cancel icon. So now we just have to set the show cropper state to false whenever we click on this cancel button. So to do that, we just have to go to our avatar component, because this is the place where we have written our show cropper state, right? And I will just create a function called handle cropper to flip the show cropper state. And the initial value will be false, not null. So as you can see, we are directly setting our show cropper state to true, but now we just have to call our handle cropper function. And we are also going to pass the handle cropper function to our render cropper component, because this is the place where our cancel button is. Now let's go to a cropper component and extract the handle cropper prop, and let's just pass it here. So now whenever we click on the icon button, it will flip the state. So let's check whether it is working or not. So when I click on change, our cropper component appears, and when I click on this cancel button, it disappears. So yes, our cancel button is now working. So now let's implement the snackbar feature. If we go to a final project, we will see that we have used the snackbar on warning messages and also on successful messages, which basically says that we have uploaded our profile picture successfully. So let's implement it. I will again go to Material UI and search for the snackbar component. I'm gonna scroll down, and the code that I want is this. I'm just gonna copy the whole source code, and later on we will delete the unwanted lines. I am going to create a file in the snackbar folder called snackbar.jsx, and inside of this file we can just paste the copied code. So we do not need this and also these lines. So now we have our snackbar ready. But before we can use it, I'm gonna wrap our app component inside of the snackbar component. You will get to know the reason in a while, but first let's wrap our app component. So I'm just gonna go to the index.js file and import the snackbar component. And we are getting an error. So we have to install the package called materialui/lab. So let's install it. The package has been installed. So now I'm just going to wrap our app component inside of the snackbar component. So now let's go to our snackbar component, and here I will create a state called let's say state snackbar. And the initial value will be an object whose open property will be false. Severity will be an empty string. Message will also be an empty string. So now I am just gonna destructure our state snackbar variable and take out open, severity and message. So I'm gonna pass this here, the message here, and we're gonna remove this line of code and also this. Now I will create a function called handle close, which will basically set the open state to false. Now I will create another function called set state snackbar context, and we will use React context to pass this function as the context value down to our app component. So now let's create the snackbar context variable, which I will name as snackbar context, and then we will wrap our snackbar component inside of the provider. And the value that we will pass will be the set state snackbar context function. So now if we will check our project, you can see that we do not have anything. To fix this, we will just take the children component and place it here. So children is the app component because we have wrapped app component inside of the snackbar component. So app becomes the children for the snackbar component. So now if we pass it here, our avatar component will appear also with the proper component. So now everything is working as intended. Now we will have to add some parameters to the set state snackbar context function. So the first one will be open, second one will be message, and the last one will be severity. And then the body of the function will basically have our set state snackbar function, from where we can set the open, message and severity values. So now we can use this function anywhere inside of our app component to change the value of the state snackbar state. So let's do exactly that. And also I have to export the context itself. So now I will just go to proper.jsx and we can retrieve our context value using, let's say, let's first retrieve our context value using the use context hook, and here I will pass the context variable that we just exported, right? So now I'm going to assign the value that we get to a variable which we will name the same as the value that we just passed, right? So we use a hook called use context and we passed the context variable. This gives us the value that we just passed down using the provider component. So now let's use this function to show some warning messages. So the first warning message that I'm gonna show is on the onDownload function. I'm gonna write an if statement which basically says that if we have not selected any image and still if we click on the download button, it should show a warning message. So let's write that. So if we go to our set state snackbar context function, we will see that we have three parameters: open, message and severity. So here the first parameter will be true, which means we are setting our open state to true from false. The second one will be the message. So the message will be please select an image, and the third parameter is the severity, which will be warning. So now if we check our project, we should get a warning message if I try to download the image. So as you can see, we are getting the snack bar, but it is at the bottom center. So now let's bring this snack bar at the top. So to do that, I will just go to the snack bar component, and here we can just add another prop, which is the anchor origin. So here I'm going to pass an object where vertical property will be top and horizontal will be center. So now we should have our snack bar at the top center position. So let's check it. So yes, as you can see, we now have the snack bar at the desired position. So yes, our snack bar is done. So now let's add some warning messages to both the clear and the upload button. So if we go down, then you will see that there is no clear function. We are directly setting the image state to null when this button is clicked. So let's create one function for the clear button also. So I'm going to name it as onClear, which will basically say this: set our image state to null whenever we run this onClear function. But before that, we again have to check this condition that if we do not have any image selected, then we can just say that please select an image, because if there is no image selected, then how can we clear the image, right? So now let's call the function here. So now we should have that warning message on the clear button also, and yes, we have that message here. I'm gonna keep the upload feature for the next video because we need to have a backend to upload images to an S3 bucket. Since this video is only about the front end, I'm gonna keep the backend part for the next video. So now let's implement the backdrop feature that we have. So again, we will go to Material UI, and I will just search for the backdrop component, and this is the backdrop that we will implement in our project. So again, I will go and copy this code, right? So, better I click on this button, and then let's create a file called backdrop.jsx and paste the copied code. So we will again be using React context to pass these two functions down to the app component. But before that, let's delete this button because we will be triggering the backdrop from somewhere else, and I'm going to name this function to close backdrop and this as show backdrop to be more specific. So now let's create the context variable. I will name it as backdrop context, and let's wrap our backdrop inside of the provider. The value will be an object, and the first property will be, let's say, close backdrop, and the second will be show backdrop, right? And here again, I'm gonna take the children out and pass it here. So now let's wrap our app component inside of the backdrop. So the name will be simple backdrop, and now we have access to the backdrop inside our app component. So here I am getting an error, and that's because I just renamed this handle close function to close backdrop. So let's just change the name here too, and now we should be good to go. Yes, we are getting our app component. So now let's check whether our backdrop is working or not. So here I'm just gonna change this to true, because this will make the backdrop appear on our project. So yes, we are getting the backdrop, right? And I can close it if I click here or anywhere like on this page. So I do not want that, and to do that I can just comment this out, right? Yes, so as you can see I'm clicking but it's not closing. The real use of this backdrop will be in the next video, because we will be integrating our front end and back end, and also we will be making some API calls. So we will be needing this backdrop when we make those API calls. So this is it for this video. We just completed our front end, and in the next video I will show you how to make the backend and also how to integrate front end and backend. So yeah, see you in the next video. If you haven't subscribed, do subscribe, and if you have gained some knowledge from this video, just like this video, right? So yeah, bye bye, stay safe, see you on the next video.